late Christian CPA extraordinaire. Great to see you once again.
Always the highlight of my week to see you, Mike.
Thank you for saying that. I'll send you the check later on. Hey,
All right.
The bank-up of ships such as at Long Beach and LA, do we know more about the cause, and is it mainly due to a shortage of labour?
No, and the big lie is they're still not operating 24/7. They've extended their hours a little bit. They're some of the most highly paid blue collar workers in America. The crane operators making well over $250,000 when you factor in overtime, and just the basic what they refer to as casuals, the non-full-time laborers. If they're getting on an annualized basis, they can easily make $80,000-$90,000 with no college education, which is I love the trades. I'm not saying they're not smart because they didn't go to college. They're good hard workers, but they make a lot of money. So it's not a labor shortage in the port, but this goes back 10, 12 years where both the ports of Long Beach and LA, well, it wasn't them, it was their city councils in both those jurisdictions mandated that it was a clean trucks program. So basically they said, no more, dirty diesel trucks. You had to, run clean diesel. And those cabs, without the trailers ran about $250,000. And so the independent guys could not afford those. And so it basically, pushed a lot of the independent truckers out of the workforce. And over the years, there's fewer and fewer trucks, and it's kind of, a oligopoly of trucking companies. So anyway, that's the problem. And then I just saw this week they're jacking up the fees in the port to further clean the air, and so you just have a lot less goods movement because there's less trucks, and it's also driven the cost of moving each container out of there.
Even though Joe Biden may only be president for 4 years, some are saying much less, and then Kamala steps in. If you go down the Green New Deal path, this is off script here. I'm just thinking about trucks. Do you know of any electric trucks out there?
Oh, actually there are.
Oh, I take it back. Sorry.
No, but they're the Chinese make some trucks. The problem was the grade on some of the outbound bridges was too tough for them to make. They were burning up their batteries, and I think they've fixed that. But there's definitely a lot. There's at least 3 major electric truck manufacturers, and those are starting. We're starting to see those come online. But a lot of them were. They have LNG powered trucks, and then they've got the clean diesel. Now they did give a federal tax credit for those, so that helped some of our clients. We have a lot of clients in the transportation industry, but it's still just eliminates the average independent trucking guy, and that's 10 years ago, that's who was moving a heck of a lot of cargo, and those guys are gone now.
Interesting also with the electric cars and the electric trucks, I would imagine in the same boat. It takes about 10 years before they become worth their weight, I would think. For example, time you make the car, you have the batteries, you have all the bits and pieces, compared to, say, a normal car, which you might have for a few years. So if you keep buying a new car, you're going to actually pollute less, or emissions are less than the emissions from the electric car, which is fairly interesting. So one would probably question the sincerity and the reality from government, wouldn't one? I would think.
Right. And I've worked as a mechanic in college in a shop, and I did car batteries and things, and those people have to understand those are lead and acid, and the newer batteries don't have all those components, but they're still highly toxic materials in virtually every battery. And all of these batteries, and they're large, they're like 5-10 times the size of your car battery on a combustion engine. And so those all last about 4 or 5 years and then have to be replaced. And also a battery, depending on if you're doing a lot of short trips versus long trips, that draw on the battery reduces its life. And so some of these cars may only be have a battery for 3 years, but that whole industry of millions of car batteries, and I'm not an expert on the recycling process on those, but it's going to be highly pollutive, even if they can recycle them in some way. But it's it's going to be that's the the big, and I could be using the wrong material, but I think it's cobalt that's a big component of those batteries. And if you've ever seen some of the videos and things, I mean, they're using third world kids going in and strip mining, and so I mean they're just destroying the land. You go look at somebody needs to go and look at like an oil pumping area, and it's it's pretty clean. You don't really see a whole lot from the surface. And but these things, they're just thousands of acres. They're just going deeper and deeper, and it's just a bunch of unfortunately third world country kids, and I mean kids, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids down there mining. So
absolutely terrible. But back to our supply chain problems, which we're talking about anyway, in relation to electric trucks, and you proved me wrong. So
sorry.
That's right, I'll take that back, but I will get over it. But the government is saying that the congestion at the ports can be rectified by more spending on infrastructure. But was this an issue 2 years ago?
No, and I can tell you because you've heard before, my office in Long Beach looks over the ports of LA and Long Beach, and I was involved with the Chamber of Commerce and things. So they have spent I'm estimating, but probably over the last 10 years, I would guess at least $10 billion on port infrastructure. Okay, new piers. A new bridge that was, near $2 billion. They're redoing the 710 freeway. At least $10 billion has already gone in there. In the new infrastructure, the hard infrastructure bill that passed over the weekend, that has a whole $17 billion carved out for ports. And as I said, over the last 10 years, Long Beach has spent at least $10 billion. A lot of that private industry paid for, but anyway, it's not for lack of spending. The two ports, and not to bash them, because I love the port movement that we have in Southern California. It's a big economic generator, but unfortunately, and we've known this for 10-15 years, we're always at the bottom of the efficiency studies. The Asian ports are 2-3 times more efficient in goods movement than these ports, and I can sum it up in one word: it's the unions. The unions control. It's like everybody takes a break. The cost of changing a tail light on a trailer is $100, where somebody else could do it for $20. just outrageous abuses of the workforce.
Look, supply chain issues, shortages, maybe delays in getting goods to the US too. How much is this hurting the US economy?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, there's plenty of demand, but the supply. You go to the grocery store. I mean, I'm not saying they're bare, but there's definitely sections that you're not seeing goods. And as we get into the holidays, I fully expect Thanksgiving, Christmas to be some pretty bare shelves throughout stores. And people are definitely stocking up now. You can't, a lot of times on toilet paper and certain goods that people are hoarding, they limit you to one per visit. And but it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. The executives in the port are saying this isn't going to clear up till spring of probably late spring of 2022.
What are the latest GDP figures showing or telling us? And what do most expect growth will be in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I apologize. I have not looked at those for a few weeks, but I did see. I want to say, there was I don't know, at least a 1.5 dip in the GDP. I think I saw a few weeks ago, because it's just a function of if the goods aren't there, the sales aren't going to happen, the exports aren't going to happen. People are not being able to produce things in the U.S. and have them consumed here or exported. So it's going to take six months, I think, before we're out of this.
Will the slowdown help to dampen inflation, or are rising prices, including energy, more a function of government policy?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the reverse. Inflation is going to be higher because there's going to be less goods and more people, running to that. I can tell you that, I mean, used cars are up, new car sales prices are, through the roof because, the chip shortage, and not ship shortage, and there's just not enough supply to match the demand, so prices are just continue to climb. And I think as we get into the Christmas season, holiday season, we're going to see more inflation because people are going to be clamoring to those. A lot of people buy cars during the holidays, and they buy them before year end. So the prices are going to be up, and then labor costs. I'm on our Opportunity Zone Fund. We're doing building upgrades. Every time I talk to the roofer or the person redoing the floor, that says, "Hey, sorry, I got to add another 5%. My raw materials just went up."
Do you think COVID-19 policies such as extended statewide lockdowns for months, mandates, poor productivity, rising costs, just some examples, are only now starting to seriously impact the economy?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, and it's hard to figure out, but I do think that all the the handouts, the checks that were written, I think it made some people in the workforce a bit lazier, and people also just reduced their spending. They weren't traveling, they spent less on services, and they bought a few more goods, but they saved more. And so I think there's a segment of society that became a little bit more of minimalists, and they said, yeah, I can survive, just, working part-time. And, but it's, the labor shortage is very obvious. And that's the real driver on inflation. I mean, everybody's got to pay more money right now.
It's going to be a very interesting time over Christmas when it's fairly cool. Just as a thought, maybe because you're into health and fitness beyond all belief, but maybe you could plug your bike that you exercise on and generate electricity for maybe the whole household. And if everybody in the States did that, you wouldn't have.
I do.
You do.
I do have a stationary bike, but I think actually my stamina these days would probably, it couldn't even, run the refrigerator. Maybe a radio, but probably not.
It's an idea, though. I mean, you get all together. I mean, if you need the electricity to keep warm at night, you just hop on the bike. You get fit, you get warm, you create energy. You're living the dream.
And I know you're half joking, but half reality. But I am I'm doing the research right now. I am going to buy a large diesel generator because I think we are going to have energy shortages. We're shutting down. There's talk of shutting down a second pipeline, oil pipeline in the U.S. And they are clearly making it as uncomfortable as possible for anybody burning petroleum products. And yes, I'll run it on diesel, but I'll store up some diesel. But I truly think this winter we're going to have some power outages, and I'm preparing for it. And I'd suggest others too. And I bought a lot of solar, chargers and things too. But I think you need to be prepared.
So
not to be a total prepper, but you do need to be prepared.
So perhaps one day you and I will be chatting on the air, doing what we do, and you'll be in your gym outfit, a bit like a Richard Simmons, and panting away on the bike and talking, which will be a sight for sore eyes. Now, if somebody wants to have a chat to you about your fitness program or taxation, how do they do that?
Yeah, the easiest way is just Google Blake Christian CPA, and all my contact information and articles will show up there.
I believe a glass of red is also very good for keeping you warm, but that's just a rumor that you.
Yeah, the interview went a little bit long, so I didn't have much left.
Blake Christian, CPA extraordinaire and my hero. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.